Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for a brand new Bloodborne top 10. This time, it's ranged kills. Let's jump straight in at number 10. One of the key additions Bloodborne brought to the table are the guns, of course, generally used for parries and counterattacking rather than a primary method of damage, but that doesn't mean they don't pack a punch of their own. P-Play is bravely taking on the defiled Eyes dungeon, but he's created a Cursed Chalice dungeon where your health bar is cut in half. People perform this harder ritual so that they get better rewards, in case you were wondering. And Ebrietas is a nightmare boss in this chalice as well, because although physical damage is reduced in these dungeons, arcane damage remains the same, so you can expect to be killed in one hit pretty much constantly. Now, because this is a randomized root chalice, that means the boss arena is also random, and this time we have a pretty unique combination with Ebrietas in a circular room with a huge pit in the floor, like a donut route. It's a really cool layout. Sadly, as we know from the rooftop fight with Martyligarius, that bosses don't fall to their deaths. There are invisible barriers that prevent them from doing that, but even so, in this room, he can pull her around the hole using gunshots and spells. He's also using Bone Marrow Ash on his shots with the Evelyn, which is of course an item that increases the damage of your next Quicksilver bullet. After this visceral attack, she enters the second stage, summoning an aura that damages the player if they get too close. But again, with this layout, he doesn't have to get close, so he keeps kiting her around the hole. The ending is perfect irony. He waits for her to cast her powerful Call Beyond spell, and then threw it right back at her with a casting of his own for the win. Sweet Blood Rock and Abyssal Arcane Gem as well, a good reward for his efforts. At number 9, we have Screw Ups and Shenanigans, who's created a Widowmaker themed cosplay from Overwatch because that character specializes in ranged skills. So he's using the piercing rifle, which has good stagger potential, and good thing it does too, because he's making this a lot harder for himself, and using the monocular, which is a tool item similar to the binoculars in Dark Souls. You can use it to aim weapons while moving slowly, very slowly in fact, especially when looking from left to right, and it's useless if your enemy dashes around behind you. You'll never turn around in time. Although one good thing is, when you're zoomed in with them, you dash instead of roll, like you would in your locked on state. Just by watching, you do get a sense of how restrictive this is though. Obviously this is a strategy used just for fun, nowhere near efficient. The ending is awesome. 3 clean shots, especially that last one where the host is frantically panic rolling back to heal, but ended up running right into his Quicksilver bullet. John DeFish is exploring the Nightmare Frontier. One of the things you can expect to find here is an encounter with Patches the Spider. Patches is a reoccurring NPC from the Souls games, which promises you treasure and then betrays you. There are multiple places you can encounter him elsewhere in the game, but here in the Nightmare Frontier, he sets a trap using glowing coins to lure you into a poison pit. Now you might not know, you can spot him hanging on the cliff underside if you're observant, and you can commit sweet revenge on this pesky liar with a well-aimed projectile, or pebble in this case. Doing this makes him fall to his death, leaving behind a great one's wisdom. This submission is one of the more funny ones, just something that's cool to know, definitely one of the more satisfying ranged kills on this countdown. Next up is a submission from Bloodborne Clips, proving that guns aren't the only ranged methods in the game. He's on a blood level 145 character with 99 arcane. And just to quickly correct a mistake I made in my last Bloodborne top 10, it is worth going for the maximum 99 arcane, because there's a ton of extra scaling for your hunter tools, which make it very worth it. So he's taking it up a level from the previous one. He's forcing himself to fight the Sumerian Elder boss in layer 3 of a fetid, rotted, cursed dungeon. The hardest version of a chalice dungeon you can have. but he's doing this with a constantly zoomed in monocular, and he doesn't stop using it and zoom out for the whole fight. You can see he's able to get the boss occasionally staggered in a repeating cycle with the black sky eye castings, but he has no HUD at all, so there's no crosshair, no quicksilver bullet count, no blood vial count, no health bar of the boss. Having no HUD in a challenge like this is a bit of a nightmare. The monocular turns so slow, if you turn the wrong way and the Elder decides to teleport, you would be killed in one arrow shot, so he practiced this fight many times to learn his patterns, and had to figure out when to replenish his bullets by keeping a mental count. Just to impress everyone a bit more, he's also doing this with no armor and no weapons, no useful runes, and best of all, he's doing this without getting hit at all. Which actually is kind of necessary considering his 26 vitality being cut in half by the Cursed Dungeon. We're in Canehurst now, waiting around on a very specific platform with the mighty church Canon. Notice his use of the blue elixir item to remain stealthed, and the bone marrow ash to ensure that his cannon shots do crazy damage. That is how you lie in wait to set up a perfect ambush. You make sure your opponents will have nowhere to run, and boom, 2 dead players. This person also sent in a little bonus clip that I just had to include. Turns out when you transform into the Lumenwood kin using the Milkweed rune, your plunging attack turns into a flying headbutt, and it is absolutely glorious. Speaking of the Lumenwood kin transformation, that's the arcane setup our next submission is using, with the very powerful Call Beyond spell and flopping around the floor like a tentacle cauliflower. That weapon, combined with this transformation, enhances your moveset with various alien tentacle attacks. As you can see, he's invaded 2 players in the Nightmare Frontier, so it's a dangerous 2v1 position, but he showcases the superior power of a Call Beyond. A Hunter Tool spell that has the highest arcane requirement and a fairly long casting animation, but once you let it off, it's devastating. The Cos Parasite weapon also has a Trick Mode special attack, which is a multi-hitting AoE explosion. This attack, coupled with the Call Beyond spell, are effectively the 2 damage dealers of this build. Quite often, those 2 alone can carry you through a fight by themselves. Tunnel X Visions has done something I was really hoping we would see today. Although it didn't happen quite in the way I had envisioned, he invades 2 players and manages to take one out with the Kirk Hammer.
Are you out of blood vials?
The remaining player has extremely low health and seems to have run out of healing blood vials.
Oh, this is f***ing perfect. Where's my pebbles at?
This is when a 1 in a million opportunity presents itself. He's going for the impossible, a legitimate pebble kill against another online player.
One of my notes got rated fine.
But it quickly becomes apparent why this has never really happened before. The pebble does literally 1 to 2 damage. It almost really might as well not do damage. I mean, it's mainly to lure enemies over to you, but then I guess we wouldn't have this amazing attempt today. Many pebble throws later, clearly the health bar isn't as accurate as you'd like to think, at least not when dealing with these types of numbers. I mean, his opponent isn't even dodging them, he just doesn't care, it's just a little scratch at this point.
Come on, please let me have enough. Yes.
Quite thrilling. Number 3 is a Chalice Dungeon Brawl. 3 players venturing through these depths have run into 2 invaders, not the types of numbers you normally see down here. Using a strategy I feel we very rarely see, he blocks off the trio from ascending to the upper levels by laying down delayed Molotovs at the top of the ladder. He's successful at keeping them pinned down, so he moves across to a perfect room for this type of strategy. It's a huge circular room with interconnecting pathways high above, just right for him to carpet bomb the players below with devastating arcane airstrikes. He turns around to find one of the players broke off from the pack and finally made his way up and tries to ambush him, but he's reacted quick enough and starts a dangerous tightrope fight high above the chaos below. The Beast Roar is great here, but so is the brutal Beast Cutter with its huge range. He ends up falling though, as another player dies. This signals the end, gives him all the time and space he needs to rain down some terror. A Call Beyond is no joke, as we've already seen. It's absolutely fantastic in situations like these. Both invaders did really well to win that 3v2, but I have to credit the win to the amazing air support that was given that game. This next one is a little bit different. The whole focus is the remainder of the fight. The ending is sensational. So we'll skip through the majority of this invasion since most of it is Comrie just trying to find his opponents and then being chased around the map by 3 players co-oping. He's looking to force a very specific situation to happen. Some of you might be able to guess what he's going for. That was a double kill, so close to being a triple kill. The third player just survived with an inch of life. But what Comrie did is fire a bullet boosted with Bone Marrow Ash using the piercing rifle, which is unique. When you use this firearm, the Quicksilver bullets pass through any opponents. Such a cool technique, using an aspect of the piercing rifle which ironically is very rarely used. And we have the first place with Kane Foe, who has sent a few separate clips of a fantastic strategy that I'm upset I've never seen used before, all focused around the underrated Gatling gun. This gun was added with the Old Hunters DLC, so it's expansion content. It requires 28 strength to wield and uses 1 Quicksilver bullet every 4 shots or so. As you can see, in the right conditions, it can be outrageously effective at staggering with an almost constant rate of fire, so if you can get your enemies in a tight, narrow spot like this one, you can just interrupt their attacking and healing. It's genius. A crazy example of this trap going wrong happens when he surprises 2 players progressing through the level, but one of them manages to slip past him, and then they begin to gank him. They pincer him from both sides, but incredibly, without falling off, he switches back and forth between them, showering them with bullets, showing huge skill and remaining calm under pressure. Manages to pull off the double kill from opponents either side of him. The lead elixir item is perfect for this strategy as well. Using it reduces incoming damage by half and allows you to attack through enemy attacks for 30 seconds without being staggered. The con is your movement speed is drastically reduced, but since his enemies can't really dodge and maneuver around him here, that doesn't really make a difference in this case. Not only is the build put together really well, the idea itself is amazing. He picked the perfect area for this. It works so incredibly well. Thank you for watching. I shall now reveal the next topic for the Bloodborne countdown. While I'm doing that, if you could leave a like or dislike rating, that would be very helpful for me. And the next topic for Bloodborne will be top 10 combos. I did this topic once for Dark Souls way back at the start of my channel. It's private now though, so I think this could make a really good new topic for Bloodborne. We're looking for a really cool sequence of attacks, ideally using multiple weapons, spells, guns, and items in one continuing sequence. I'm looking for the sequence, the combo itself, rather than a kill necessarily, but if you do end up getting a kill with a really cool combo, obviously that would be perfect. Bloodborne should be pretty good for this with all the transforming trick weapons, so have fun with it. The email to send your submission to is on screen and in the description with more details. Thanks once again for watching and submitting everyone. I will see you in the next one.